should see it here. You are, right?
Yeah. Hey everybody, Nicole Schrader here, and I'm here with, yes, I do want to tag Linda Schrader in this video. Awesome. I'm here with Linda, which is my mother-in-law. We started this, I guess about 30 minutes ago, and had a little bit of technical difficulties. So I just hopped over here, didn't hop, I drove over here to her house, and we're going to do this video from here. So let's see. I'm trying to see if we have any viewers yet. Yay, we have a viewer. Awesome. Okay, so this, again, is my mother-in-law, Linda, and I've known her. I've been part of her life. She's been part of my life for 27 years now. And so I've watched a lot of her health journey through her life. And so she was actually recently able to share her story at a live event that we hosted, and then also recently on a national webinar that we did as well. And so she gets a lot of feedback from her story, and a lot of people tell her how awesome and inspirational it is to them. And so so I just thought that you all needed to hear her story as well. So she has been on a quest to achieve ultra health, and I'm just going to ask her some questions, and as I ask her questions, she's going to answer. And we would love for you to be very interactive with us on the video. We may not be able to respond to your comments, like if you have a comment or a question during the video, because we don't want to stop and do that, but we would love to respond to those after the video is over. So we may be asking you some questions throughout, asking you to give us some likes and some hearts and things like that throughout the video. And so, yeah, I'm super excited. So, Linda, let's start with this. You, at one of the events that we did, you shared a story about the first time that you ever became aware that someone perceived you as overweight. So can you tell us about that?
I can. That was 59 years ago, and I remember it to this day because it was the first time I felt that there was something different about me. I grew up on a farm, and we worked really hard most of the time, and so I was a skinny kid up until I was about 11 years old, and sometime between the end of one school year and the beginning of the next school year, when I was 11 years old, I got a chubby, and I didn't know. I knew the word chubby because I read all the time and still love to read, but I didn't know that I was chubby and what that really meant. And so we got one new outfit to start school with, and my mom had taken us to Easley, to a department store. I remember where it was. I don't remember the name of the department store, but we were looking through the racks for a dress for me for school, to start school with. And the sales lady came over, and she said, "May I help you?" And my mom said, "Well, we're looking for a dress for her," and indicated me. And the sales lady turned and looked at me, and I remember her expression to this day. She looked at me from the top of my head to my feet and back up again, and she said, "Well, you won't find anything here. If you're going to find something to fit her, you're going to have to go to the chubby section." And that was the first time in my life, I think, that I felt ashamed. And I really did not know why, but I knew that in that lady's eyes, there was something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. So it made a real strong impression on me that I remember it 59 years later.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I remember when you shared that in the event that we were at, and we actually had people in the room with us, that it was kind of like the air was sucked out of the room. You could tell the emotion that went along with that. And, So yeah, I'm sure that some of the other people watching have had a similar experience in their life when they, had, if they're struggling in any way with their health or their with weight issues, they may have had a similar encounter or something, maybe not the same type of thing, but something memorable to them. So then, obviously I didn't know you when you were 11 years old. I wasn't born then. And I didn't meet you until, later in your life. So tell us about the next, maybe decades, kind of fast forward the next few decades of your life.
Okay. I was a chubby kid all through high school, and I eventually began to realize what that meant. I could look around and see that I was bigger than most of the girls in my class. So when I was 18 years old, I wanted to do something about it because That was about the point that my mom stopped making all our clothes. And so I was having to go to a department store to buy clothes. And I wanted to be able to buy girl size clothes. So I went on my first diet and I made it up myself. We had apple trees on the farm, and anybody that grew up around apple trees and ate green apples knows what that does to you. So my diet was to eat as many green apples as I could and exercise like a fiend. And I did that for 3 months. And at the end of that 3 months, I could not tell any difference in how my clothes fit, anything. I could not tell a bit of difference. And my middle sister started to make fun of me. And then, so I never have done well with being made fun of. And so I quit at that point. But that started me on a cycle of dieting and losing and dieting and losing for years and years and years of my life. I could lose weight. Anybody can lose weight if they have enough determination. There's enough plans out there where you can lose weight. But nobody ever was able to help me with the hard job of keeping it off. So I would go up and I would go down, and every time I go up, I would go back to that weight that I started from plus more. So I just got fatter and fatter and fatter over the years until I was 54 years old, I guess. And all the time during that time, I would say, hey, when I was 30, I will not be this fat when I'm 40. And I was not. I was fatter. And I will not be this fat when I'm 50. And I was not. I was bigger. Every year, I just got bigger and bigger, and gotten to the point where I had so many, what they call comorbidities, that losing weight became almost physical impossibility. And so that went on for my entire adult life.
Right. So obviously when I met you, you were an adult. And I remember when you shared with us, with the family, that you were going to make a decision, a pretty serious decision. And at that point, you already had grandchildren. So you'd gone through your, adult life, and you were, moving into the time when you were a grandparent, and you made a serious decision. So can you tell us about that decision?
I can. I actually had, at that point, I had developed what's called metabolic syndrome, which is, everything's out of whack when you have that. And I had gone to a dietitian. I'd worked with my doctor and said, you've got to help me. The plan the dietitian put me on, I gained 6 pounds in a week, and that was not going to work for me. And so I was struggling with what to do, because by that point I had tried everything. There's thousands of diets and plans on the market, and I'd tried every one of them, I think, some more than one time. Pills, shots, supplements, fasting, everything. So early 2004, we actually went to Florida to visit my daughter, and at that point I weighed close to 300 pounds. And I think you probably remember, when you go out to the beach, they lived in Florida, and you could drive out the causeway to Ormond Beach and turn just north, and there was a park up there that had playground for the kids. I had taken my 2-year-old granddaughter out there late afternoon, early evening to play in that park, and she wanted to go out on the beach, and she was a runner at that time. She loved to run. So we got out on the beach, and that sand was deep. The tide was pretty far out, but she started running. And she was on the packed sand, and she was moving. She had short little legs, but she could move. And I couldn't catch her. I knew I couldn't catch her. I was in the sand. I weighed almost 300 pounds, and I was terrified because this baby that I loved was running toward the water. And the waves were really rough. The wind was high, and I knew if she got in that water, I would never be able to save her. Thank God she turned around and came back to me. But I knew at that point I had to do something, because if I did not, I would not feel free to take my grandchildren anywhere and do any of the things that I wanted to be able to do with them, because I couldn't protect them. I couldn't take care of them. So I went back and saw my doctor again, and he knew how desperate I was. And he suggested gastric bypass surgery, and my immediate response to that was no, because people died when they had that, and I said no. But he said, I really think that you have some things going for you in your favor. One of them, which I thought was interesting, he said, you have a flat belly. And when you lay down, when you're laying down and they're trying to get to your organs, they don't have a lot of fat to go through. So I thought, okay. And he said, even with all the comorbidities you have, you don't have any heart problems. And the heart problems would be, they were starting, but at that point they weren't bad. And he said, you would be able to withstand surgery without any problems. So through a series of events, I decided that that was the thing that I needed to do. And my family was opposed to it because they knew people died from that too. But I was desperate. I was so desperate and so sick of being where I was. And I went ahead with it. October of 2003, I was 55 years old, if my math is right. And I lost 130 pounds in a little bit less than a year, very quickly, very unhealthy way to lose weight. My skin never caught up with the fat loss, and so I dealt with that. Overall, I did pretty well, a lot better than a lot of people who had that surgery, but it did cause some long-term anatomical things that I didn't know to expect. And I've been hospitalized several times with different problems caused by that. And I have some malabsorption issues. For 2 years, I gutted it out, though, and I stayed at that weight. And that was the longest time in my entire life that I had ever stayed at a normal weight that I could remember from the time I was 11 years old. But you can't live on that plan. You just can't do it. If anybody knows what that's like, it's just almost impossible to live on forever. So I gradually started to slip back into some of the old habits that I had before and went right straight up again. So.
Yeah, I'm just, I think about some of my Facebook friends, some people that I know personally who have had that surgery or are considering that surgery. I actually coach some people who chose to do our plan as a last resort to avoid a surgery. And then also, I coach some people who, like yourself, who have had the surgery, but it may be an effective thing for a while, but yeah, they're looking for some other options. So let me just stop here and remind you guys, we would love for you to be interactive. We are at the point where we've talked about Linda's childhood when she realized that she was chubby, and then about what most of her adult life was, and then she made a decision to have a gastric bypass surgery in 2003. We would love for you to be interactive. Give us some emojis to let us know, how this is impacting you. Leave us some comments, and we're going to go back at the end of the video and we'll respond to some of those comments. Okay, so you had surgery. Have we answered this?
Actually, there are a couple of things I thought of. After I had that surgery, I did have to change some things, and some things I realized was that I ate way too fast. I was a volume eater. I could eat lots of food, and I didn't chew my food thoroughly. And those were the things that I had to change physically in order to be able to even avoid pain, because that can, if you do any one of those things, you can cause yourself some tremendous pain that goes on for a while. And and that was exactly what was happening to me. I have this sitting here. This is, you've seen it, I know.
I've seen this for years.
When I realized I had those issues, I found this little thing somewhere. I don't know where. I hope I never break it because I don't know where I got it. But it is a minute timer. And when I take a bite, if I am struggling with eating too fast, and I do that if I'm under stress or I'm an emotional eater too, I'll drag this little thing out of the cabinet, and when I take a bite, I set it, and I don't take another bite until the sand runs all the way through, so that I know I am allowing at least 1 minute from the time the food went in my mouth until it clears my mouth and goes down in toward my non-existent stomach. So I did make those changes, and some of them I've learned to chew a little bit better. I learned that food tastes a lot better if you chew it thoroughly, and I'm not able to eat too much anymore, but I still do eat too fast sometimes.
Yeah. So that is what she's talking about there, is life after the gastric bypass. So in 2016, I started a health program, which is an overall optimal health program. And, knowing that, and I actually looked at her at this point in time as a healthy person in my life, because of what she had gone through. And here she was, staying fairly not to the point that you were
Not
when you
to the
lost
point
the
I
full
was, yeah.
130 pounds
You're right.
after the gastric bypass. But here I was getting bigger and bigger, and I mean, it wasn't like a competition or anything, but I just knew I needed to do something. So I started on a health program in June of 2016. And really didn't at all think that it'd be anything she'd be interested in, because I'm like, well, she's had a gastric bypass. Why would she ever want to do this program that I'm doing? But this is what I need to do for me. And so later in the fall, she started asking me questions about it. And so then you made a decision to join our Optimal Health program. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
I did. And I was watching you guys too, because I was always looking for a solution. After about 2 years out from the gastric bypass surgery, my weight went back up to 206 pounds. And at that point, I said, I've got to do something. I cannot go back where I was, because I knew a lot of people who had gone exactly back where they were before they had the surgery. And then you have all of those issues, plus you're fat again, you know. And so I, again, made up this little diet, and I did that religiously long enough to get down to 141 pounds. It put me in the hospital 3 times, but I was not going to be overweight. So, as soon as the third time when I got out of the hospital, I said, this is not working. And so I quit doing the diet, and I started creeping back up again. And when you started, no, it was before that, I guess. I had made a determination I was going to lose the weight, and I had created my own diet again, and I was down 10 pounds, but I was stuck at 10 pounds. I was down to 186 pounds, and I was watching you guys, and not you and Michael, and not only were y'all losing the weight quickly, but y'all didn't look like I did when I had gastric bypass surgery. I looked like a balloon that the air had gone out of. And you guys looked healthy, and you were laughing, and I saw you were growing spiritually, and it was just, I thought, they're doing something that is working, and I want to know what it is. So in November of last year, November 16th of 2016, November the 11th of 2016, I started this program. And it was everything that you told me that it would be. My energy just went out the roof. I would go to the doctor for a checkup, and my blood work was perfect. They were saying, are you really? How old are you? We never see this kind of results with a...
So let me say, she's 69 years old.
69 years old. And I had that question asked 3 times, is how old are you? How old did you say you are? Because my blood work and everything about me looked like I was 40 years old. And what that said to me was a lot of the comorbidities that I had, the issues that I had with reflux disease and joint degeneration, and I have arthritis in my feet and legs, but it doesn't hurt anymore because I took all that weight off of it. And I had high blood pressure and high cholesterol and high triglycerides and metabolic syndrome, and all of those things were gone. I have none of those things, and no evidence that it was ever there. And I think that is the most miraculous thing to me, to be able to go to a doctor and get that kind of report, when before it was, well, you have this, you got to do this, and you got to do this, because I had all those issues. And I don't have them anymore.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's what we call miraculous, because I mean, knowing, if anybody, some people watching, they may know you and know your whole history. Other people may not know you. They may know me, but not you, or they may know neither of us and be watching this. And so they don't know. So I know a lot of times when people look at you and meet you now, they don't know that you were that. What was your highest weight?
I was, when I weighed 276 pounds, I stopped weighing.
Okay.
And I gained weight after that. I have some friends that I worked with at the time. They will remember how, they will remember what I looked like. And I just quit weighing because I just did not want to know.
Yeah, that's kind of my story, is out of sight, out of mind. If I just don't look, I don't have to think about it.
I didn't think the scale would go that high. So.
Okay, gotcha. So, I know some really cool things that you've been able to do since you've been on this health program. So talk about some of the things not the things that you're planning to do, because we're going to talk about that one in a minute, but some of the things that you have done since you started this health program, in the past year.
In the past year in particular, I've always loved to be outdoors. I love watching the birds. I love working in the garden. And I always thought that I would love hiking, but I was never able to do it because I was either too heavy or I had issues with my feet, legs, whatever, and was never able to enjoy it. It was just a chore to do it. And I've found that I just love it. And I have been out. I've been hiked part of the Foothills Trail. I've been on the Appalachian Trail. Haven't done much of it, but I've been on that, Roan Mountain. Lots of beautiful trails that I've been able to do and be outside and just see this glorious world that God has created. But one that was really special to me, we went to Israel in May. And that was, we put that down years ago as a bucket list item and never thought that it would come to pass, really. But we had the opportunity to go and we had the funds to go. So we went, and I knew of a trail there. I'd heard of a trail there. It's called the Snake Path, and it goes up the side of Masada. And I can't remember the statistics on it, but it has about a 1,200-foot vertical rise over about a half a mile, which is steep. And it's a switchback trail. And the day we were there, I looked at that trail and I thought, I don't know if I can do that. And I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I thought, I'll never be back here. And if I am back here, I'll be 2 years older, 3 years older, and I might not be able to do it. So I'm going to do it. I knew if they'd give me time, I could do it. I wouldn't be as fast as some of the young folks. And I was not, but I made it. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and made it to the top of that trail. And that was to me, that was just a fulfillment of Linda, if you want to do it, try it. You can do it. Just keep going. Just keep going. You can do it. And so I've got plans for other things too.
And that is so powerful for the people watching the video. If you've made it this far into the video, I mean, that is powerful for you too. Like that, one of the things we say in our health coaching is God created us to do hard things. He made us to do hard things, and you did a hard thing, and you didn't just, just say, oh, well, I'm not going to do it. I don't have time. I might be the slowest one. You did it, and you knew that you knew that the opportunity was there, and you better take it while you had it. I think that is powerful, and I think that's powerful for the people watching. So again, we'd love for you to be interactive. I thank you for the comments that you guys are leaving. We are seeing those. We may not be responding because we want to keep going with the topic, but leave comments, likes, hearts, sad faces, whatever it's making you feel. Do be interactive because it helps us to know that there's somebody still watching. So let's see. So you went to Israel. You've done a lot of hiking. And I think one thing you've noticed is that you've used the word diet. Like you've done diets in the past. Is this program a diet?
No.
What do you think's different?
Okay, there's several things that are different. It does have a component where it's get to a normal weight. But if that's all you do, you're likely to fall back into that statistics that says that unless you change your habits, 84% of the people who lose weight through dieting will gain it back within 2 years. And if you go out 5 years, it's higher than that. It's like 95% or something. This program has 4 components, not just the get to the optimal weight. It's got the things that I was looking for before but never found, which is support, which is personal interaction with a coach, my coach, and a method, a system to change my habits so that I can know that I will never, ever go back to that weight again. I will never go back there. And I have set a goal for myself that I will never let my weight fluctuate more than 2 pounds. If it's up more than 2 pounds for a week, I cut it back and am really strict with myself.
So I love that because, we look at gauges. I know for a long time myself, I know that this is about Linda's story, but I'm going to throw in some coaching in here too. I, for a long time, did not look at the scale. I said, I'm not going to be identified by that scale. I don't want to know what that scale says. It doesn't tell me who I am as a person that God created. But the bottom line that now I know is that the scale is a gauge. We pay attention to other gauges in our lives. I pay attention to my fuel gauge. I pay attention to all the gauges on the dashboard of my car. I pay attention to the thermostat. That's a gauge. And so the scale is just another important gauge. So the fact that you know that gauge, you don't want it to wiggle any more than 2 pounds. And that's your cutoff. That's your limit. And you're going to take action. And I love that. And I think that's important for people who are watching this. So, all right. So you've got accomplished some things on your bucket list, things you've been able to do. But then you made a decision to become a health coach. And I'm sure that in retirement, you probably did not think that see yourself as ever being a health coach. Health coaching is fun.
It is fun.
It's rewarding,
fun.
Right? So tell me something you love about health coaching.
I love the fact that I get to meet and interact with people that I never would have met in any other way. I have a tendency to be reclusive, and I can shut myself away, and I'm not really selfish with my money or my possessions, but I'm very selfish with my time, and I know that, and I have to really work to not be that way, because I don't think God created us to internalize like that. So that's one thing that has been a big blessing for me, is I have met people that I would never have had the opportunity to know any other way.
One of them's watching the video.
Yes. And that has been very rewarding. And another thing that has been rewarding is seeing people take control of their health decisions and decide, if it is to be, it is up to me, as the saying goes. That's what I say. That's what people are saying. And I get the extreme pleasure of working with them and seeing their excitement when they start to achieve their health goals. And it's not just the scale victories, it's the other things that they're able to do too that gives their life more meaning. Because as you get heavier, as your weight impacts you more, you pull back more and more and more into your own little self and your own little world. And to see people come out back to the person they used to be is an amazing blessing to be able to do that. And then one thing that I almost cry when this happens is when somebody who is 40 years old or so asks me about this program and decides to do the program, and they are non-sick. It doesn't mean that they're not sick, because they're not having to take all kind of medications or whatever, but they're non-sick because they're 100 pounds overweight, and eventually those things will happen. They're headed toward them. They're headed toward diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, joint deterioration, all the things that I suffered from. They're headed that way. And it just gives me just the most awesome blessing, I guess is the only way to see it. To see someone of that age say, I'm not going there. I'm not going to be that way when I'm 69 years old, and I'm not going to be desperate then. I'm going to take charge of it now. Yeah. And they commit themselves to it, and they just work really hard at it and meet their goals. And that's rewarding. And
that's where I was. I mean, when I started this program, I was called non-sick. That's what our program, refers to it as. I was non-sick. I was not taking any medication. But I was sure headed in that direction. I was over 200 pounds, and if I didn't do something, I was definitely headed to a place of sickness. And so our program, we think about our health, our system, the system that we have out in place, with your medical insurance, doctor's offices, hospitals. It's really a sick care system. They're caring for the sick people, but our program is really focused on health and helping people to not get to that place of sickness, or if you're in that place of sickness, to help reverse that. And so what's really cool is that your medical provider noticed your transformation and your husband's, my father-in-law's transformation, and somebody else that I coach. And so this person started, this medical provider started noticing what are all these people doing to get healthy. And what's been really cool is he is actually sending people to you, to us, whatever, how we want to say it, because he knows this works. And I've gotten clients who their doctor has told them, this is what you need to do. And so the doctors have sent them our way because this is tried and true. It's proven. We don't do any pills. No. We don't take shots. We don't do potions.
We don't starve.
So anyway, all right. So we're almost to the end of this, and again, we would love for you to be interactive. I think we're on our last topic, our last segment of the video. But be interactive. Give us some likes, give us some hearts, give us some emojis, some kind of feedback. Leave us some comments to let us know, because we're going to interact with you after the video's over for anything that you want to talk to us about. So what's cool is I asked, well, it starts out as not cool, but it's going to get cool. I had actually started talking to my mother-in-law, Linda, about health coaching because I was her coach, and I saw that, she has a great heart for people. And she maybe needed, after retirement, needed some kind of purpose in her life. And so I started, offering to her, planting this little seed about health coaching. And she didn't want to do it at first. And she was just saying, well, I'll just send people over to you and you can coach them. And that was fine for a while. But ultimately, she decided to become a health coach. Here's the thing. Some people don't know that we actually get paid to be health coaches. Our company that pays us well. And so she didn't know that at first. And so she thought that this was just some kind of, oh, do I just volunteer, because she is a service-oriented, she's always volunteered in her church and done lots of missions and things like that. So she didn't know she got paid. And so she's been really surprised. She actually showed me what the company paid her last month. And she took a little screenshot and said, thank you so much. And because she now health coaches, and here's the thing, I want you to know that my in-laws are, they're financially secure.
Yeah.
And luckily, we look to them as mentors, and they've helped us to know how to become financially free and financially secure. And so she doesn't really need the money that comes from health coaching. So she was sharing with our national webinar recently what she was planning to do. And I remember when we first started talking about health coaching, she shared with me about a goal, with me and some other people, about a goal that she had, what she would do with the money that she earned. And so why don't you just kind of tell them what you're planning to do with some of the money?
My husband and I have been affiliated, I guess you'd say, with a children's home in Brazil for a number of years. And we were able, because I had a really good job. I had a good job, and I was blessed with that. And we were able to contribute to fairly substantially to the support of that children's home. And we're also able to fund the education for a couple of the kids there, because in Brazil, if you have they have public education, and it's available to everybody. But if you want to go beyond, if you want to go into college or whatever, into a profession, you almost have to have private school education. And so we were able to fund that for a couple of kids who had the potential to go on. And we wanted to be able to do that again. When I retired in 2010, we had to scale back on a good bit of that. And so this is just awesome, because that means we're going to be able to, I'm going to call contact the administrator, I think it's the administrator is what the title is, after Christmas, and get the names of 2 kids who have the potential. We don't know a lot of them now because we've not been in several years, not been able to go in several years. But get the names of a couple of kids who have the potential to go on, to have a career and start contributing to their education, their private school education. And we want to do 2. And I think if we can, we'll do more than 2. But that's just one thing that is special and near and dear to our hearts, because I remember that to that place, to that children's home, was the first place I went after I had the gastric bypass, and was small enough to sit in an airline seat and fly for 9 hours. I would not even think about it before then, and that was the first place I went. And we went back year after year for several years, sometimes twice a year, to work with the children there, and had the opportunity to contribute to to a lot of things there, and so we won't be able to do that again. We're looking forward to being able to do that again.
Yeah. So what she's basically saying, for those of you that are just hopping on, I know some people are coming in late, and that's fine. It's been a long video, but it's a powerful story about her gastric bypass to now being at a healthy weight and health coaching other people to achieve health as well. And so she's this mother-in-law Linda, and she's 69 years old. And then the last thing we're going to say is you have a pretty big goal of a bucket list item for your 70th birthday. So tell us about that.
I do. When I was 33 years ago, I set a goal that I wanted to tandem skydive. And you have to be less than 225 pounds to do that. And I would never do it before because I never knew from the time I bought the ticket until time to jump if I would still be under 225 pounds. This time I know I will. I'll be 70 years old March 14th. And my good friend, Cynthia Sweeney, and I have tickets to go do that tandem skydive. Now, Al and Eddie are not going to dive with us, but they're going to videotape our landing. So that I probably never do it more than one time, although everybody says it can be addictive. But I am so looking forward to that because it's been out there for 33 years.
Wow.
And I'm going to be able to achieve it.
She's going to do a tandem skydive at 70 years old. I'm super proud of her. That is not on my bucket list. I'm adventurous, but I'm not quite that adventurous. But maybe one day the fear. It's not a fear. It's just not a thing that I want to do. But I love that you want to do it, and I love that you've gotten to a place where we can support you in that your health goals, so that you can be able to do that. And check those things off of her bucket list. That's really awesome. Y'all, I am really proud of her, and I love this lady a lot. And so I'm really honored to have been, married into this family and been a part of this family for we haven't been married 27 years, but been a part of the family, so to speak, for 27 years. So, we'd love to hear, feedback from you guys, comment, like, whatever. Share this video. If you know someone else that her story about the gastric bypass and about now being, at the healthiest she's ever been at this age. I mean, most people at 69 years old are not nearly as healthy as she is. Share this story with someone. Have them go onto her Facebook, Linda Schrader, and follow her, friend request her, whatever. If you feel like she could be a good health coach to them, if you feel like I could be a good health coach to them, have them follow me or friend me, because that's what we have a passion for helping other people get healthy. And this has been the best decision that
both of us
we've ever made. So
other than accepting the Lord.
Yes. So I love you. Thank y'all for watching. Bye, everybody.